Mentos has a new video, so sit back and enjoy the show.
For more than 10 years, Anna Basilamentos has been on YouTube sparking imagination, inspiration, and creativity through her vignettes and movies she's created of her American Girl doll collection. With over 100 million views to her YouTube, she is credited as being one of the OGs from the golden age of AGTube. On October 29th, 2022, I got to sit down with the now 25-year-old AGTuber in my New York home to ask her questions on her life, her career, and the future of her channel. For the first time in her career, she has decided to finally share with the world who she is behind the camera. This is the face behind Basilamentos. Can you see yourself in the camera?
Yes, I can. It looks good. I think I'm okay where I am. You can see the doll and you can see me. My left elbow is a little bit cut off, but I think that's fine.
That's
okay.
fine, perfectly fine.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to see you again. It's been too long.
So long. The last time I saw you, I was AG Salon Stylist. It was 4 years ago. You did like an impromptu meetup in New York. You're so psychotic. You literally were like, hey guys, we're hosting a meetup. And I think 10, 15 people came to that?
Yeah, it was maybe a couple days before, or 2 days before, 3 days before. I don't remember when I made the announcement, but I wasn't really expecting that many people to show up because it was really last minute, and people came through, which was
And
really
I'm so
sweet.
grateful you did, because I was able to snag Basilamentos merch that day, and I'll never forget that. You literally were like, I have merch, does anyone want to buy any? And we were like, yeah, we sold you out in 2 seconds. Okay.
That was really fun.
So, elephant out of the room, your face. I cannot believe, thank you so much again for this opportunity to be able to sit face to face with you and actually have a conversation about your entire career, which is massive, by the way. 13 plus years you've been on YouTube. Why now have you finally decided to just share your face with the world?
Yeah, I think it's easiest if I start by saying why I didn't used to share my face with the world, which is, there are a few reasons. The first being that when I started my YouTube, I was a young girl, and in terms of safety and privacy, my parents really didn't want me putting my face out on the internet, which is totally fair.
Completely.
And, over the years, I've had a few creepy comments and a few creepy messages, and every time I have been so grateful that I was anonymous. So that was the first reason. The second one is that as my channel progressed and people started watching my videos and appreciating my videos, it felt really good to have people enjoying my work and not necessarily care about who I was as a person. I felt like people were appreciating the art and didn't need to know the artist, if that makes sense.
That makes actually completely another sense.
Which felt really good. It feels good to be recognized for what you do rather than how you look.
I think that growing up, the mystery of not knowing what you look like, it didn't matter because of the fact that I enjoyed your content so much that it was just I don't care what she looks like. She's as long as the voice was sweet, the characters were all together, it was definitely really great to be able to be who cares?
Yeah, and it was never really about me. It was about the dolls, and it was about the stories, and that's
your craft.
Yeah, that's how I wanted to keep it. But now I'm at a point where, first of all, I'm a grown-up, so the safety thing is less of a concern, and then secondly, I'm just sort of reached the end of my fame and natural closure to my time on YouTube, and I feel like I don't need to worry as much about keeping it about the dolls anymore, because that chapter has kind of come to a close, and I am really happy for an opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation with everybody out there on the internet.
Oh my god, you look so great. You do look
great. Thank you. Yeah, the orange looks good with the purple.
So it's been a while. What have you been up to since your last video? Your last video was the Tea Time Fiasco. Yeah. That was, what, 3 years ago?
It must have been 2019. But I actually filmed that video in 2014, 2015,
really?
And I had just been sitting on the footage for years.
So you've just been that good since 2014. That's literally just what you're telling me right now, is the fact that you had this video sitting on the side and you were like, okay, just might as well release this, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was at a point where I wasn't filming new content, and I wanted to post something, and so I dug back through the coffers and found this unused footage. I still have a lot of unused footage.
Really?
I don't have any complete videos that are sitting in photo format, but I have a lot of snippets of storylines that never were used, and that was one of them.
That's insane. Looking at the final result, I was like, there's no way, duh. I feel like when I met you, you had just finished doing the bee incident, right?
Probably. I made that video when I was in college.
Yeah.
And I remember that's actually one of my favorite memories from YouTube is filming that video, because I didn't make that many videos while I was in university. It was a challenging time to like find time to make a stop motion. But I remember friends helped me make that video, and my friend Jericho driving out and helping me do one of the scenes where the doll was flying through the air was really...
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, because there's a lot to unpack in the 13 plus years you've been on YouTube. How did you first like find out about American Girl in general?
I found out about American Girl because my best friend in my like pre-K class had a Felicity doll.
Okay.
And of course, as soon as I saw this doll, I was blown away and wanted one of my own.
Yeah.
And so I spent a couple years begging my parents for a Felicity doll, and then they got me Felicity, and that's where it all started.
How old were you when you got Felicity?
I must have been like 5.
You
I was
were 5.
really young.
You were really young.
I was really young, and it's funny. My parents will talk about it now, and at the time they had a lot of conversations about what to do,
right?
Because this was a really expensive doll,
right,
with delicate hair. And they're like, her daughter wants this, but this doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah.
And now they joke about how that's like the best decision they ever made.
It's crazy because like they used to be like $85.
Yeah, I think 80, 85, 86, something like that.
And now they're like 115.
115?
They're $115 now. Every single American Girl doll is $115. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Inflation.
So Felicity being your first doll, why did you specifically pick her? Like it was just a beauty thing, her story?
I was just a copycat. My friend had Felicity.
And you were just like, let's just get Felicity.
For my friend, it made more sense because she was a redhead. So it was like she got the doll that looked like her. For me, I was just like, I want what my friend has.
How did you come across the YouTube platform, like in general?
I must have already known about it because when I found out about AGTube, I had like gone to YouTube and searched in the search box American Girl dolls.
Okay.
So like I don't know why I knew what YouTube was back in 2008 or whatever it was, but I went on YouTube and specifically looked for American Girl dolls.
And who was one of the first people you started watching?
Steven's What a Dancer.
Steven's What a Dancer.
You know
I always have to give credit where credit is due. I consider her like the OG, the queen of AGTube. Like it is she really did create the blueprint for a lot of not only just stop motion but a lot of like content in general for AGTube and like everything. Like she had like a wide variety of like vlogging. She did like the photography. She did the stop motions. Like we were talking about the like Let's Get Loud, the Let's Get Loud stop motion. Like it's insane what she did. And aside from that, who else was around in the YouTube community when you first started?
I wish I remember more usernames.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful, tight-knit community when I started, and I remember being involved in a lot of like contests and collaborations and things that go bump in the night. One of the first series that I did was actually written by another YouTuber.
Really?
Yeah. Her name was, I really hope this is right. Her name was AG Lover 13.
Okay.
And she was an incredible writer, and she wrote this script for this full doll series and wanted someone to film it. So I remember I filmed it for her off of her script.
Really?
But that was the kind of thing that was really normal at the start of YouTube when there were only a few hundred of us and we were all in this tight-knit community working together.
Going back to that, your first YouTube video, it was the one where it was My Dolls Play Ball. Explain the process of what went down behind the scenes for that video.
Yeah, so actually, that might be the first stop motion I posted on YouTube, but it's not the first stop motion I made. There's an original stop motion that I made that never went up on YouTube.
Right.
And I have no idea where the footage is, but it was pretty bad because it was my first ever stop motion and I was learning. And it was a fashion show. I made it with my little brother, and I remember when we loaded on all the images and put it on a computer, we played it for my parents, and they were like, that's so cool, how creative. And I think getting that positive reinforcement from my family early on led me to create more stop motions like My Dolls Play Ball.
Yeah.
But that video is another one that I worked on with my brother. He had a little string attached to the ball, and he was moving it around to make it consistent.
How long did that take you guys?
I wouldn't be able to say, probably like an hour. It's maybe, 13 seconds long?
Yeah.
So.
So I was looking back at your original videos, and one of your first videos was you posted about meeting Sarah at Mall of America. and she signed your doll Sarah's foot. Are you aware of the fact that you basically like created like an avalanche of a trend where like now like that's the thing to do if you're meeting like a famous age YouTuber is to get the foot signed by them?
I had no idea that when I saw that, when you asked that question, I was like, I had no idea I started a trend. That's great. I really thought that my friend had introduced me to that idea, but if I started it, I'm proud to be part of that.
I feel like you're like the very first like person that like actually like put it on video and put it on camera and was like, this is like definitely the blueprint.
Well, I remember like at the time it was seen as kind of shocking to have someone imprint on your doll because they're such expensive dolls. And for me, I felt like the doll was more valuable with Sarah's signature on it. But I think that at the time that was an unusual idea that you would do anything intentionally to alter an American Girl doll. Hilarious, because now we have like doll customizations where people put in new eyes and like wigs and paint makeup on them. But even just getting a doll's foot signed, I feel like was
yeah, like my doll Austin, the one that you signed that says Betty Mentos 2018. I'm like, I could never sell that doll. Like any of those people, like any of the people that have signed my dolls, I'm just like, those dolls have more value because of the person that they're attached to.
I think so too.
Yeah, and it also like sentimental value. You like meeting you for the first time. Yeah. What was your first viral video?
I think it's what happens when you're at school. It's a video where the dolls come out of the dollhouse, they go into the bathroom, they start playing with the human makeup, and it's really fun because I actually recently have made sort of